It started innocently enough. Just a quiet night at home. The house creaked as I stepped through the front door. The sound was subtle, almost like a sigh. Old wood complaining under my weight. I had just moved into this secluded two-story house, a fixer-upper that had sat empty for years. The air inside felt stale, thick with dust and memories of forgotten things. The windows cracked and covered in grime, let in just enough light for me to make out the outlines of old furniture hidden beneath faded sheets. I had been living here for a few days, unpacking my things, trying to make it feel like home. It wasn't much, but I liked the quiet. That was until tonight. I'm not one to scare easily, but something in the air felt wrong. It was a feeling that settled over me like a weight, heavy and suffocating, the kind that gnaws at your gut. Maybe it was the way the house felt, or maybe I was just exhausted. Either way, I couldn't shake the sense that something was off. I decided to head to bed early. The house was still and silent, the only sound the occasional rustling of the wind outside. My bed was set up in the largest bedroom, the one closest to the staircase. I lay there staring at the cracked ceiling, trying to silence the nagging feeling that had taken root in my chest. But then I heard it, a soft tapping sound. At first I thought it was the wind again, a branch scraping the window. But this was different. It wasn't coming from outside. It was coming from beneath the floorboards. I froze, listening carefully, the hair on the back of my neck prickling. Tap, tap, tap. My heart beat louder in my chest, my eyes scanning the dimly lit room. My mind raced. The house was old, yes. The floorboards creaked, but this was deliberate. It was a rhythm, a pattern. I sat up in bed, my hands gripping the sheets tightly. The tapping continued. A chill crept through the room, seeping into my skin. What could it be? I swung my legs over the side of the bed and stood up. The tapping stopped abruptly. I felt foolish, standing there in the middle of my room, my pulse racing. My rational mind told me it was nothing, just the house settling. Yet something kept me from moving, from ignoring it. That gut feeling still gnawed at me. I left the room and crept toward the stairs, the house dark except for the faint light spilling in from the kitchen. Each step I took made the floorboards groan underfoot, as if the house was alive. The air grew colder the closer I got to the stairs. I couldn't explain it, but the temperature seemed to drop by degrees until I could see my breath in the stillness of the hallway. I was standing at the top of the stairs when I heard it again, a loud, unmistakable thud from the room below. It wasn't the sound of something falling. It was deliberate. My breath caught in my throat. I wasn't alone. I grabbed the flashlight from the kitchen drawer and descended into the basement, my footsteps echoing in the silence. The stairs creaked under my weight, groaning like they were warning me to turn back. The basement was dark, only the beam from my flashlight cutting through the shadows. I scanned the room, looking for any signs of movement. It felt wrong. The walls were bare, and old wooden beams ran across the ceiling, holding up the floor above. There was a strange, musty smell in the air, like mildew and rot. I walked to the center of the basement, my eyes narrowing as I looked around. The tapping started again, but louder now. It was unmistakable, coming from beneath the floor. I knelt down, my fingers brushing the wooden planks. The tapping grew faster, frantic, almost desperate. My heart pounded in my chest as I pushed against the floor, searching for the source of the noise. And then I felt it, a faint vibration beneath my fingertips. Something was beneath the floor. I backed away quickly, my breath shallow as panic gripped me. The flashlight trembled in my hand. My mind raced, trying to process what I was hearing. But before I could move, a sharp screeching noise rang out from below. The floorboards buckled, splintering under the pressure. I stumbled back as a figure emerged from the floor, its hands clawing at the wood. It was human, or at least it looked like one. A gaunt, pale figure, its skin stretched too tight over its bones. Its eyes were wide open, blank, hollow but staring directly at me. I froze, my mind trying to catch up with what I was seeing. The thing's mouth opened, letting out a low, guttural growl. Its breath rancid, as if it had been buried for years. Before I could react, it lunged toward me, its hands outstretched. I barely had time to step back as it crashed into the floor, trying to crawl out to reach me. I backed up, stumbling over the dusty floor, my mind clouded with terror. My heart raced as I frantically searched for a way to stop it, to get out. The flashlight flickered and dimmed, casting long shadows over the creature's twisted form. It was no longer a thing of simple horror. It was hunger, rage, an endless need to escape, to hurt. I ran for the stairs, but as I turned, the creature screeched. Its long, bony arms shot out from the cracks in the floor, wrapping around my ankle, pulling me back down into the darkness. The flashlight fell from my hand, landing on the floor with a dull thud. I scrambled, kicking, fighting against the force pulling me toward the thing. My heart thudded in my chest as it climbed up my legs, dragging me closer to its gaping mouth. I didn't know how I managed it, but in a surge of adrenaline, I broke free, my foot connecting with its face in a sickening crunch. It recoiled, but not enough. The creature grabbed me again, its claws raking across my skin. I screamed, thrashing, desperate for anything that could end it. Then there was a loud crack. A section of the floor gave way beneath me, and in that instant, I tumbled backwards, falling through the splintered wood. I hit the ground hard, pain shooting through my body, but I didn't stop. I couldn't. The last thing I saw before I blacked out was the creature, its twisted form staring down at me from the broken floor above. When I woke, I was in the basement, alone. The house was eerily quiet, the tapping and screeching gone. I was covered in dirt and sweat, bruised but alive. I never found out what that thing was or how it got there. I sold the house soon after. The new owners didn't stay long either. The house was empty again, as it had always been. But sometimes in the dead of night, I still hear it. The tapping, scratching from beneath the floor. I just hope they never find it. I always thought I had a pretty good sense of adventure, but looking back, I realized there's a fine line between curiosity and stupidity. It all started with a weekend trip to a cabin out in the woods. I've always been drawn to places that are off the beaten path, somewhere quiet, away from the chaos of city life. This cabin, hidden deep in the forest, looked like the perfect escape. I arrived a little later than I'd planned, so the sun had already started dipping below the tree line, casting long shadows over the path. The cabin itself was older, definitely rustic, but it had this charm that made it seem like a place you could relax, recharge, and forget about the outside world for a while. A fireplace, some old furniture, and a porch that overlooked the woods. Simple, right? But something about it felt off. I brushed it off, told myself I was just tired, and settled in. I put my things down and wandered around the cabin, trying to get familiar with the space. The living room had this old wooden floor that creaked underfoot. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that noise, just the house settling, I figured. But there was something about it, something unnerving in the rhythm of the creaks, like the floorboards were trying to tell me something. As night started to fall, I lit a few candles and turned on the fireplace. The soft, flickering light was comforting, and for a while, it was easy to forget that I was in the middle of nowhere. That's when I heard it. Just a faint scratching sound from somewhere in the walls. I froze. I don't know what I expected. Maybe a mouse or a bird stuck somewhere. But it kept going, this scratching sound, almost like something was trying to get in. I took a deep breath, told myself it was probably nothing, and went back to my book. But the scratching didn't stop. It was growing louder, almost like it was moving around the cabin, following me. I got up, went to the window and peered out. The dark woods were as still as ever. No wind, no rustling leaves. Just silence. But I couldn't shake the feeling that someone, or something, was watching me. The night dragged on. I tried to focus on my book, but my mind kept drifting back to that scratching. And then I saw it. A shadow, just a flicker at the edge of my vision. I turned, heart racing, but there was nothing there. The shadow vanished as quickly as it appeared. My pulse quickened, and I had to remind myself to breathe. I checked the doors and windows. Locked. Everything was fine, or at least that's what I told myself. But as I lay in bed, the silence seemed to press in from all sides. The scratching sound came again, closer this time, almost as if it was coming from beneath the floorboards. I grabbed a flashlight, my hands shaking. I knelt down, shining the beam under the bed. Nothing. But when I turned the light toward the floor, I saw it. Small, wet footprints leading from the corner of the room to the base of the wall. I couldn't help but feel my stomach twist. I ran my fingers over the wall, trying to steady myself. That's when I noticed something strange. A small crack in the wood, just big enough to slip my finger into. And as I pushed on it, I could feel the air shift, like something inside was pressing against it, just beyond reach. Then suddenly the door slammed shut behind me. I spun around, my heart thudding in my chest. The room felt colder, and the air had this strange, heavy quality to it. My breath came in short, panicked bursts. I ran back to the window, desperate to see some sign of life outside. But the world beyond the glass was pitch black. No stars, just an impenetrable void. And then, there it was again. The shadow. This time it was standing in the corner of the room, just beyond the edge of the light. I could barely make out the figure, but I knew it was there. I felt its presence in every bone of my body. The figure stepped forward, slow and deliberate, and I saw the glint of something sharp in its hand. I bolted for the door, but it wouldn't open. I screamed, pulling at the handle, but it was stuck. The figure moved closer, its breath cold on my neck, and then it spoke. "You shouldn't have come here," it whispered, its voice low and raspy. "You weren't supposed to find it." The panic flooded me, but in that moment, a sudden realization hit me like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just some random stranger. This was something else, something ancient, something tied to the very cabin itself. The figure lunged, but before it could reach me, the lights flickered. The walls seemed to shift and groan, and for a split second, the cabin almost seemed to breathe. Then everything went silent. I opened the door with ease, as if nothing had ever been wrong. The figure was gone. The scratching had stopped. But I knew deep down I hadn't just imagined it. I didn't stay another minute. I grabbed my things, ran out of that cabin, and never looked back. But sometimes when the wind howls through the trees, I still hear that faint scratching sound. And I know, whatever was in that cabin, whatever I awakened, hasn't forgotten me. If you ever find yourself in a place like that, take my advice. Leave before the shadows come for you. And whatever you do, don't stay the night.
Make sure to like this video and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you won't miss what lurks in the shadows next time.